Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. My name's Amy, and I'm the Digital Content Manager here at MorePay. Today, we're going to be talking about last week's budget announcement. But before we do that, there's just a few things to cover. So first up, how to ask a question. Now, we have got a live Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so we're really keen to hear from you. Please drop your questions in as we go, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can. Hopefully no one's facing any technical difficulties, but if I'm flooded with lots of questions saying that you are, then obviously it's an issue at our side and I'll do my best to fix it. Don't worry too much if you're facing a problem at your side. The webinar is being recorded and I am going to send it to everybody later today. So what are we going to cover? Well, first up, we're going to have a look at a quick overview of the budget and some key announcements. We're not going to spend too much time on this because we know that you're all here to hear about the changes for payroll. So we'll be dedicating most of the time to this. We'll then wrap up with the live Q&A session that I've mentioned. Now, before we start, I'm just conscious we've probably got a few people on the call who aren't MorePay customers, so I've got to take the opportunity just to tell you a little bit about ourselves. So MorePay provide payroll and HR software, as well as managed services to businesses across the UK. It's actually our 55th birthday coming up, so we've been around for a fair while, and we've got more than 10,000 customers across the UK. Our promise is to make payroll and HR easy, and we do that by focusing on these 4 things. So simple onboarding, easy to use software, rich functionality in our software, and flexible services delivered by our huge team of payroll and HR experts. So that's us. Let's move on now and meet our presenter for today. So Fiona Lu-Hilson is a legislation business analyst. She joined MorePay this year, so she's very new to our team and we're really thrilled to have her on board. She brings with her more than 20 years payroll industry experience, and her expertise includes in-depth legislation knowledge for UK payrolls. Of course, she is CIPP qualified as well. Good morning, Fiona. How are you doing?
Morning, Amy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
I will hand over to you now, Fiona.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Amy, and thank you very much to everybody for making a time to join us today for the webinar. And if we could move to next slide. On today's webinar, we are going to have a look overview with the budget announcements, along with some of the key announcements. And I think most important of all is we will go over some of the elements affects the payroll world. As most of us know, the Chancellor made the budget announcement last Wednesday on 27th October. The Chancellor announced the next steps for the UK economic recovery after the impact of the pandemic, and he pledged to drive growth while keeping the public finances on a sustainable path. I think there's a very positive message he has put out. He says employment is on the up and investment is growing. Public services are improving, the public finances are stabilizing, and wages are rising. It all sounds really good, positive. And on this page, we briefing a few key announcements with the, a few with the public sector's pay freeze have been released, and the funding for NHS and budget increase for education and other sectors. And as you can see, a few of them listed here. If we moving next page, on today, we are focused for the changes for payroll, and we're going to discover some income tax, national insurance, health and social levy, national minimum wage, and along with some other points. The first up is the income tax, and as you probably can see, there's no surprise about income tax. There's no change for income tax, given that back in March, the budget freeze for the figures for England and Northern Ireland for the next 4 years. The personal allowance for tax-free income for next year is still at 12570, which means the majority, the standard tax code, will be 1257L still. And the higher rate threshold, when higher earners starts to pay 40% tax, remains at 50270 as payroll person. The most know, if not familiar with payroll person, this figure is for the upper earning limit for the national insurance, which remains the same. The other allowances are also unchanged, like below listed. On the page is a marriage allowance and blind persons allowance and married couples allowance remain the same. So if we can move to the next page, is we're looking at national insurance contributions. The national insurance contribution, the limits and the thresholds is not changed. Like I mentioned, the upper earning level is still 50270 and will be the same for next 4 years. The national insurance rates have been increased with all NI categories as announced back on 7th of September, announced by Boris Johnson, with all NI categories will be increased by 1.25% for the upcoming year. But on the following year, which is 2023-24, the national insurance rates will be dropped back to normal, and the 1.25% will drop down. And that will have a separate sector as the health and social care levy, which we will talk about after this. The national insurance also had a few new NI categories. And the first one is for veteran, started for next year, April 2022. However, you can start making claim back to April 2021, which means when you submit information to Inland Revenue, you can start claim for the overpaid national insurance. The other few new NI category is Freeport workers, with F for the Freeport standard category, which is in relation to NI category A. With the new Freeport workers national insurance category with I, this is mirrored with the standard national insurance category B. When the Freeports on the new category, NI category S, this is mirrored with the standard NI category C. With the last one, L, the Freeports is in relation with the standard NI category J. So these 5 NI category, this apart from veteran, you can claim back from April 21. These all 4 new ones will start from April 2022. And now let's moving on to next is we mentioned the health and social care levy for the next year. Whoops, I lost my webinar. And we mentioned with next year, the NI category increase by 1 to 1.25, but year after will drop down, will be a separate one. I'm going to read bullet point by bullet point, as so this is brand new, something brand new, and is new to all of us. I just want to read it through, so kind of, make everybody have a physical feeling about it, so have a better idea about it. To say health and social care levy is from April 2023. A new ring-fenced health and social care levy of 1.25% will be introduced, which will apply to those who pay Class 1, Class 1A, and 1B, and Class 4 NICs. The levy will also apply to individuals above state pension age with employment income or profits from self-employment above the threshold 9568. The levy will be administered by HMRC and collected through the current reporting and collection procedures for NICs, i.e. pay as you earn and income tax self-assessment. Like national insurance, levy contributions will apply UK-wide. People will pay the same in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. For 2023-24, levy contributions will need to appear as a separate item on payslips. Where possible, a generic message should be included payslips for the next tax year. I think, although this will not hit UK payroll next year yet, but worth to noting, this is coming up on the following tax year. And moving on, Amy, please, to next page is the national minimum wage change. And the category here we detailed is from apprentices and age 16 to 17, 18 to 20, 21 to 23 with the national minimum wage. From age 23 onwards, it will be national living wage, which is increased from £8.91 to £9.50 from April, start in April. And along with the accommodation offsets the hourly rate. This will affect some of the companies. I think some company already making comment about this, but for many people working on minimum wage, this is really a good news. Now let's look at the company cars, vans, and fuel. Company car and van benefit charges and associated fuel benefits will increase by 3.1% for next year. And the next 2 points, which is the percentage for vehicle first registered before 6th of April, are frozen. And the appropriate percentage for vehicle first registered on or after 6 April 2020 will increase by 1%. The final one is all rates are then frozen for the 2023-24 and the following year 24-25 tax year. This is the majority of the changes we want to discover today and go over. On these other notable updates, although it's not directly in both payroll or payroll related, but we think it's of interest of the majority. So we detailed here, like inflation expected to average 4% over the coming year, Scottish budget to take place on 9th December 2021, state pension to increase by 3.1% in April 2022, fuel rates frozen in 2022-23. Government confirmed public sector pay will rise, as we mentioned earlier on, to bring an end to the temporary pay freeze. Tax relief for art and culture extended to 31st of March 2024. So that's all I'm going to go over today, and hopefully will be helpful and for you all. The next, I'll pass to Amy for live Q&A session.
Thanks very much, Fiona. So as everyone can see there, obviously there was lots announced in the budget last week, but only really a few things that impact payroll, which Fiona has taken you through there, and hopefully you found that useful. We had this webinar booked in for half an hour, which leaves us with 10 to 15 minutes now for a live Q&A. We've not had tons of questions, so if you have got anything, then please do take this opportunity now to drop these in, and Fiona is more than happy to answer them. So the first question, which has come from Anne, is in relation to the Freeport changes, and her question is simply, what is Freeport?
I can give you, just bear with me. I can give you a Freeport is for have the criteria, basic few criteria. I can read it out to you if you just bear with me. And let me find 1 second.
Just whilst you're finding that, Fiona, someone sent a message as well asking if there's a recording, so I can answer that one. Yes, the webinar's been recorded, and I will share that with you later today.
Yeah, thank you. And Freeport, you have to have few criteria to meet Freeport for employee to be able to. This is basically have the NI relief for employers. Freeport criteria, the eligibility is for employer to be eligible, they must have physical premises in the Freeport tax site. The employee must be a new hire after April 2022 and cannot have worked for that employer or connected to the employer in the previous 24 months. The employee must spend 60% of their working time in the Freeport tax site. There is no limit on the number of employees an employer can claim for. This basically is in relation to flexible working rather than employee have to work 5 days, then 3 days, 2 days in office, but you have to be 60% of their working time in the Freeport tax site. Eligibility to claim will expire 36 months from the employee's start date of their employment. So it's not forever ongoing, 3 years maximum. Employers will self-assess eligibility for the relief using available guidance from HMRC. So hopefully that clarifies what is Freeport, what employee could apply.
Yeah, and as well, so Anne, Joanne, and Lindsay have all asked questions about this. So I think we did have a bit more information that was probably going to be too much to put into the webinar deck, but we'll definitely put it into a blog post. So we'll do that soon. And if you hop onto our Knowledge Centre on the website in the coming days, we'll have a blog post on there that hopefully explains some of this and details what Fiona's just gone through. So hopefully that's helpful. Another question is from Amy, who is a MorePay customer and would like to know if MorePay will be adding the NI generic message automatically. Do we know if that's the case, Fiona, or is that?
This is part of the software development. It's already in place. And obviously, all the new NI category is part of the legislation for next coming year from April 2022. So yes, this is in the development. Although whether it's a message out or not, I'll need to find out.
Yeah, okie doke. So we can come back to Amy and confirm that if needs be. So another question from Sarah. Do you know if there will be any changes for student loan thresholds? Do you know if that was confirmed?
Student loan, I'm not aware of any changes, and it's not been mentioned either. Currently, it's still student loan type 1, 2, and 4, which is, and they also have the commonly we say it's student loan type 3 is the other one, but it's still currently for student loan type. I've not heard any changes for this.
Okie doke. Susie has asked, with regards to the company car changes, do we know if this impacts benefits in kind for electric vehicles?
I need to find out more. The general, the message is there. If we go back up to see the company car, can you move that, Amy?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, apart from the mentions here, I'm not aware, or Inland Revenue has not sent anything different from these 4 points, really.
Yeah, okie doke. So someone, I think Bridget's asked for a bit more information on the health and social care levy. So Bridget, again, I think that's something that we're keen to do a blog post on and put in the Knowledge Centre, so we can explain that in a bit more detail on there, and hopefully that's useful. Sarah has asked what the lower earning level is for the NI change in 2022.
The NI had only changed for the percentage. The figures for the lower earning limit and upper earning limit and threshold have not changed at all. It's the same as last year.
Yeah, so no changes to that. A
No.
question from Mark, who's a MorePay customer. Mark, we'll come back to you on that one. He's just asking about a calculator, so we'll come back to you separately. Deborah's asked for the slides. Of course, we can send those out to you, Deborah, no problem. So Joan has asked a question. I'm thinking this is about the Freeport code. So she said, are the codes FI, SL, and V, are these codes new and changed from other codes already in place?
Yes, these codes take priority. If you go back to these codes take priority if employees qualified to be Freeport workers, then like I said, the F is in relation to the standard A, I is for standard relation to standard B, S is in relation to standard C, L is in relation for standard code J. And as here explained, if employees qualified as Freeport workers, then their NI code will be changed to in relation to these 4 codes.
Lovely.
And it's only, like I said, the criteria, sorry, Amy. Like I said, the criteria, it only applies for any new status join your company from April 2022 onwards. So you don't have to worry about, we will, like Amy mentioned, we will put more details on our Knowledge Center about which employee is eligible and what's the length of time for things. That is for more details regarding that side.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we get those up on the Knowledge Centre. So Jones asked, how do we access the blogs? And they are, if you go to the MorePay website, in the top menu bar, there's a Knowledge Centre section, and in there, in the menu as well, you can hit view blogs, and it'll take you straight to the most recent blogs, and they should be sat there very soon. So hopefully that's helpful. A couple more people have asked for copies of the slides. So yeah, no worries. I'll make sure I send those to everyone. Alexandra has asked, what is the eligibility for the veterans NI category?
The veterans, the eligibility, and we can also put on the Knowledge Center. But right now, I can tell you the eligibility for employee to be. If a person qualifies as a veteran if they have served at least 1 day in the regular armed force. This includes anyone who has completed at least 1 day of basic training. The qualifying period starts on the first day of their veteran's first civilian employment since leaving the regular armed force and ends 12 months after. This is only applied for 12 months. the 12-month period is set and does not change if employment ceases. So this is government encouraging employment to hire veterans, which is, like I said, it starts in April 2021. So if your company already have veteran in place and qualifies, you can claim the NI, your overpaid NI from Inland Revenue, and with next year's payroll starts.
Yeah. So I think definitely, Fiona, we'll get those blogs up, won't we? Because I think we've got some stuff on the veterans NI category as well. So yeah, we'll make sure they're available.
We have the eligibility, we have the NI category, we have the calculation how it works. So yeah, go to the knowledge center, find out more.
Yes, lovely. Another question from a MorePay customer, Karen, who's asking for confirmation about that generic payslip message. So for yourself, and I think it was Amy, we will come back and just 100% confirm all of that.
Yeah, we will have the message for sure, but although at this stage, I'm not sure how far, our software get on with it yet.
Yes, yeah. So if there's any questions, we can come back to you directly on that. So I think that's all of the questions that we've had. So we've got still a little bit of time, but I think we'll wrap things up. Obviously, all your questions have been answered by Fiona, which is great. So I'm just going to point you in the direction of the Knowledge Centre that I mentioned. So this is on the MorePay website. As mentioned, we'll get those new blog posts up relating to the Veterans NI, Freeport workers, and I think there was another one as well. So we'll make sure that that's up this week. As well as those resources, there's lots of other useful content on there. So our bi-monthly payroll legislation guide, our employment law guide, we've got all of our past webinar recordings. Any future webinars that are up and coming are always advertised in here as well. And we've got plenty of ultimate guides as well that try to answer lots of questions about the most popular topics in payroll and HR. So if you've not already, we definitely encourage you to go and have a look in there. I'm sure there's lots in there that you'll find useful. So that's everything from us today. I just wanted to thank Fiona, who's been a wonderful host, and thank everybody for attending. We hope you found it very useful. I will be sending the webinar recording out to you later today, along with that copy of the webinar slides as well, so you've got those to refer to. We hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll hopefully see you again at another webinar soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.